ton of stone. I got it from Pennsylvania, right from the quarry. Yeah. I had to cut and face every bit of it. And when I moved in, I only had the front done. The three sides had no stone.
Hi, we're here with Joe Andreano of Clarendon. Joe is a very interesting fellow who went back to school in his 80s. So, Joe, tell us, why did you decide to go back to school at such a late date? What happened? What's the story?
Well, first of all, I imagine it's for my own self-esteem. And then to perpetuate my two daughters who are college students. I had never had a high school education. And when I applied to go GCC in Batavia, they turned me down saying I had to have a high school diploma to go to college. So later on, I seen something in the Rochester paper about University of Rochester conducting high school equivalent tests. So once that, I walked down there, paid the $35 fee, and I took the test. And to my astonishment, I passed. I had a good grade. And with this piece of paper in mind, I went to GCC, and I established myself with that school for a two-year college associate degree. And I spent 2 years in GCC, where I got my associate degree. I was then 80 years old. And from there, I decided to go on for a bachelor's degree in SUNY Brockport. And I spent 2 years there. And when I graduated there, I was honored. Hillary Clinton was the commencement day speaker, and I really got more applause than Hillary got. And I was the oldest member, a man that graduated SUNY Brockport, that ever graduate. I was the oldest man. I was 82 years old. And so that all my education was just more or less for my own self-esteem. And I say to perpetuate my two daughters and to give myself some education. I was then retired, and rather than being a couch potato hanging around doing nothing, I decided to go back to school. And that's basically why I did it, basically.
So what did you get your degree in? What field?
I got general education at GCC, and I went to criminal justice in Brockport. I had one science degree in GCC and criminal justice in Brockport. Two separate degrees, okay? I served a lot of years. I served in the service, in the Army. I went into service, and when I was 19 years old, first I was in a CC camp at 15, where they sent me out to Green River, Utah, where I worked in the forest making fire breaks. And then at 17, I caught pneumonia. It was devastating. It killed me. I left Pearl Harbor in August of 41, and they bombed it 4 months later. And I came back home and was home 17 months, and I was recalled back in the service. I met Grace in 42, 43, and we got married on 10-day furlough, and I went into the infantry during the war, and where I fought during the war. I fought 3 or 4 different campaigns, and I was commended for both the Bronze Star and the Silver Star I run in combat. So it's been an interesting life for me, you know.
So you've worked at a number of jobs, too? Different jobs?
I was a self-employed mason contractor for about 15, 20 years. And then I worked for the Wilmerite chain, the one that builds all the malls. And I got to know quite well Jimmy Wilmot, the older man that started everything. And he decided to go into mall building, and they built that Greasetown Mall. And he called me in one morning and says, "There's no more mason work, Joe. We're going to go into mall building." He said, "But I can get a job for you in the city." He made one phone call for me. He was then a big shot Democrat. And one phone call, and the next day I got hired with Urban Renewal, the city of Rochester, assistant project director in Urban Renewal. And it was a nice job there. I stayed there for 20 years, where I got my retirement. Then I went to the waterworks for the city and worked at the cemeteries, doing mason work. I got a monument I built on Lake Avenue. It fronts the Riverside Cemetery. It's a big stone monument that I built years ago for him. It's still there. And that's part of my life.
So you took up painting at a later age too, right? When did you?
Something that when I went to GCC, the art class was kind of a class that relieved you from the tensions of psychology and biology and all these other tough subjects. So I took art just to relieve the tension, more or less. And so I had 2 years in artwork, and I was never a good drawer. I couldn't even draw a straight line. But when I started to go into art class, I got to know about watercolor and oils and stretching canvases and stuff. I got to like it. When I left that school, I I went to Brockport. When I finished Brockport, I started to paint around there, and I thought maybe it was pretty good painting. So, and I don't know why I started, but there's a talent there someplace. And I paint all the time. My house is full of paintings. They're all over the place. I have Rachel's squawking. There's no wall space left.
Do you ever show any of these paintings at exhibitions or sell them out?
There's a lot of paintings out that different, but they're only friends of mine. But everybody's received some of my paintings. I never passed out the original. What I do, I go down to a mailbox. My friend John, he makes copies for me, and I pass copies out to individuals. Everybody seems to, whoever got the pictures, like them. And I got a couple of them that's playing Oregon where my daughter lives. And no, I would like to get somebody to represent me, but no, I haven't sold any paintings.
Okay, so if there are any agents out there, we're looking for an agent for you, right?
I would like somebody to represent me, really, because, I want to see if there's some talent. If there's not talent, it's, of course, if my friends like my paintings, so I'm going to continue to paint anyway, but I would like to see if they're worth selling, worth saleable. And for that, I suppose you have to have some sort of a notoriety or some sort of an agent, or somebody's got to. I know that my friend Vincent van Gogh, he only sold one painting in his lifetime. He sold a painting, he got $80 for it. That's the only painting he's painted during his entire lifetime. And he became famous.
It's true.
Even though he cut his ear off because his pal, Paul Gauguin, and him didn't get along. So out of rebellion for Paul Gauguin, he cut half an ear off. And he was quite an artist, Painted a lot of them when he was in the Sailor Island.
So, have you been influenced by Impressionism, or do you just like Van Gogh as an interesting person, or what sort of style do you like to paint?
All their lifestyles, Van Gogh, Paul Van Gogh, and Vincent Gauguin. Paul, all their lifestyles. Claude Monet, they had lifestyles that Claude Monet, he lived in France, and all he did was paint landscapes. And one day he drew a picture of the sunset somewhere in France. And the man asked him, "What do you think that is?" So he says, "It's just an impression, what I see." And the word impressionist called that. They became all impressionists. And none of them really sold a lot of paintings. They weren't commissioned except Michelangelo. He was commissioned by the Pope. But most of them, they starved. They didn't have any money. They didn't make any money.
Well, that's interesting. One thing sort of interests me. You went back to school at 80, and how was it like? What was it like dealing with younger students like that? Brockport is a pretty young population, and
well, I'll tell you,
how'd you mix in?
The young people, especially the girls, they seem to appreciate me being there. First of all, I have a 60%, 80% loss in one ear and 80 in the other ear, so that when I get into classes, I had to sit front row, right in front behind the professor, in order to hear him speak. And I got to know the young people. They came to me with their problems, and I try to solve them up, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed going to school with the young people. They treated me very, very nice, And like I say, when I graduated, the ovation was tremendous, just exploded. So all the young people that I met in college were great to me, and I thought they were nice. I still do. They think they're nice. Nice generation. And I enjoyed every minute of going to SUNY Brockport. It was a nice experience for me. But I say you'd have to go in the classrooms, and you found that these boys they'd come with their slouch hats, and they lay in the chair this way, and sometimes they would fall asleep, and the professor would tell them, "Look, if you want to get grades, you can fall asleep." And they lay there, but they're smart, even though they think you wasn't listening, but they're very smart. These young people that. They grasp things a lot quicker than I used to do when I was a younger guy. And they're very intelligent. This generation is very intelligent. Hopefully they use it.
A little bit about your family.